found it. We have it on the website. I checked the link. The link works, so we're ready to go.
Okay, we're going to call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States
the United States of America,
and to the
and
republic
to the republic
for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with liberty and justice
for all.
for all.
Take the roll call.
Austriaco,
Here.
Collins.
Harry, you're muted. If you can't unmute, you want to just, you could do,
He's unmuted.
Here, can you hear me?
perfect. Yep,
Yes.
we can.
Okay,
Thanks.
perfect.
Coyle,
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Owen,
Here.
Yusuf Abramson,
Here.
Bessler.
Here. Okay, all right, we're going to start with the Superintendent's Awards.
Okay, so I'm going to combine this a little bit with my update. And we have just finished a couple of months of really unprecedented work here in District 207 that has included a really quick pivot for our staff into really a different way of doing things. And as we discussed internally here, you know, who should get a superintendent's award, who shouldn't, the list literally was too long to construct. And no matter what we did, you know, adding someone almost always meant, well, someone wasn't added. So what we decided to do was do 5 awards tonight. And the first 4 are going to be for our schools. So on behalf of the administration and the Board of Education, we want to give superintendent's awards to the entire faculty, staff, administration at Maine East High School, at Maine South High School, at Maine West High School, and at Frost Academy for the incredible, and I mean incredible work that they have done. And it's a function of leadership across a broad spectrum, from our support staff to our teachers, up through our administration and principals who did a wonderful job. We literally were national leaders in how we executed e-learning. Our e-learning site, a big tribute to our adult learning program, ended up being used across the country. We made the links live so that the tutorials that our teachers and staff had put together, people from around the country could get on there and use them, and they've been shared widely. I've had people from all around the country talk to me about our e-learning website as one of the very best that anyone had seen. And that's coming from people like Bill Daggett, who's in a position to really see a lot of them around the country. So just incredible, incredible work from all of our staff. And, you know, if we could give each one of them a personal award, we should do it. I mean, it's phenomenal work. We have more work ahead of us, but I feel really good going into whatever that is with the team that we've got. And then finally, we are going to do one individual award, partially because I have a son who's a videographer and I know how labor intensive their work is. But a lot of districts hired professional videographers to try to construct their graduation ceremonies in a way that we were able to produce in-house. Obviously, with a big thanks and assist from all of the building teams that we just mentioned. But Dan Colin is our other Superintendent's Award recipient tonight for the incredible job that he has done. Frankly, from the before this moment and during this moment, all of the communications whose importance really ratcheted up during this time. As you think about from day one, really needing to communicate with diverse audiences and the ability to push out video to do that, Dan has been amazing. The production value of our graduation ceremonies was spectacular, and that is a function of Dan. So Dan, we can give everyone a round of applause. So this is for all the teams and for Dan who's here. So thank you very much. That is our Superintendent's Award. And again, there's so many more people deserving of this. We are nominating a number of our teams and a number of our individuals for the Illinois State Board of Education Those Who Excel Award. And so a number of our teams, and in fact, the team that's going to be here tonight, our career team, is one of our state nominees for the Those Who Excel Award for the incredible job that they've done. And again, we have so many things going on here that if I step back and allow myself to reflect, I realize that one thing we're doing as well as anybody in the country. And you can keep going. And there's that other thing in career space that we're doing. We were already leading the nation in this, but the pivot that this team made to provide virtual support to our students in real time was as good as anybody in the United States did. So it's just really, really, really been phenomenal. And after we do public comments, I'm going to turn it over to Laura Cook, Dr. Laura Cook, and her team to present a little bit of an update to the board. This is something we try to do annually, but this is another team. I mean, it just doesn't stop the accolades that our team should get. It's one thing after another. So it is really, really amazing. I don't know if we have any public comments.
No, I don't think so. I'm going to just add to that quickly. I want to echo everything that Ken just said, especially how each and every school, teacher, administrator, staff really rose to the occasion, but also made graduation virtually in these parades and making every student feel special in their own way, whether it be by sign or ribbon. Everyone just really stepped up, and I just want to applaud you all again. And I want to applaud Ken for working with the team, for being the superintendent in unprecedented times. And I just want to thank you all again for outstanding. I think you made 2020 as special as it could be for our kids and our families, and especially continuing the learning and being a standard bearer in that space as well. So thank you again. And I'm going to make us clap again because we are most grateful for all of you.
And then before we move on, I do have one other thing that I need to do this evening. In light of the tragic death this past week, I want to have a statement read that we're going to also send out probably this evening or in the morning on email. This is a statement that has been constructed today with input from our district equity team with the work that they've done. So I'll read that now and let you know who's going to be signing the statement. Dear District 207 family, we want to acknowledge the pain many are experiencing, especially our diverse students, families, and staff as a result of recent events noted in the systemic racism that is part of the history of the United States of America. This has long prevented members of our community from realizing the respect and dignity to which they are entitled. We are committed to building an equitable and inclusive learning environment. As leaders of the diverse District 207 school community, we acknowledge the struggles Black people and people of color experience. While we do not have the answers, as a learning community, we are committed to identifying and dismantling the structures that permit and contribute to systemic racism. Please know that we are here to help support our students who need assistance during this time, and their safety is our top priority. If a student needs support, please complete the attached form, and a member of our support team will contact you directly. And so the email has a form listed that students or families can contact us if they need support. And this document is signed by me, the superintendent, the District 207 Equity Leadership Team, our District 207 Administrative Team, as well as our District 207 Board of Education. And this will go out to all of our District 207 community members. So we're very proud of this statement. And more than anything, we're really proud of not short time work, but long time work that we've had in this district to really honor the diversity of our students, to respect the journeys that they're on, and to try to make the district an accessible, equitable, fair place where any person can come to school and know that they are going to get our very best efforts, our very best level of service that's dedicated to do one thing, and that is really to change their life for the better, which is the best that any public education institution can do. So with that, we'll go ahead and continue the meeting.
Yes, and again, just to echo again, every single board member reviewed and had input into the statement as well, and very supportive and realized the importance and significance of this statement.
Okay, with
And
that,
around the equity. There are no public comments, are there, Ginny? I don't see any in the chat. I confirm, Ginny, that there's no public comments.
No public comments.
All right, Ken.
okay, Dr. Cook, I'm gonna turn it over to you and your team to tell us a little bit of an update with our amazing 656 business partners.
All right, so let me just put this in. Can everyone see my screen? Okay. So I thought I'd start with a quick reminder of when we always are starting with all of our decision making, we first always look at where the jobs are and going to be. And then we try to marry these with exposure to authentic learning. And all of our career experiences can really be placed into three categories: exposure, exploration, and experience. And when we're deciding on these experiences, we try to answer three questions. And first, what we have to offer in the building. So we'll dive into it right away. With our first experience is guest speakers. And Laura, if Wilkins is here, three of our career coordinators for buildings are Laura Wilkins from South, Kylie Massey from East, and Kayla Hansen from West, and Laura Wilkins from South. And again, all of these opportunities are provided at all three schools. So just think of that when you're hearing them explain what they did at their own particular school. Laura, if you want to talk about an example of a guest speaker, and then if you could also briefly go over what the options fair is.
Oh, sure. Hi there, I'm Laura Wilkins. So the guest speakers, as Ms. Cook said, Dr. Cook said, we have guest all three, but two of the ones that I wanted to highlight, we did some big ones this year at Maine South. One was the whole physical education department led by Don Lee. We coordinated with all of the teachers. So all of the juniors and seniors at Maine South had career speakers in their gym class on a particular day. And they were all fitness and health related. So firefighters, chiropractors, things like that. And they all rotated through. So each student got to pick two speakers that they heard that day. That was about 1,200 students. And then this picture down at the bottom left is Dr. Michael Massimino, who is an astronaut. We happened to receive an email that he was going to be in the Midwest, and I had reached out to him to come and speak in our auditorium. We were able to have over 400 students, science classes mainly with their science teachers, but then also just students who are interested. Some of the speaking engagements obviously are much smaller than that. Typically, they're much smaller than that. They're for a particular class or group, teacher that has requested that. And then the options fair is our less than 4 years, so 2-year or certificate programs that we invite in employers and business leaders to talk to our students about wonderful, high growth, high demand careers that they can get with less than a 4-year degree. And they come in and talk to the students live in person. This year we'll be doing it virtually in the fall, but they have been live in person, and so that they get an opportunity. So you see on this top left picture, the EMT program at Oakton showing students how to intubate. Students get an opportunity to see some and speak to professionals live.
Perfect. And then since we had gone virtual, Kylie Massey initially came up with the idea to do a Friday career conversations, and she set up a number of speakers. And Kylie, if you wanted to go over that.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Laura. So the flexibility with virtual learning allowed for speakers to schedule with me both on Fridays, or if they wanted to do something pre-recorded, they could on another day. The nice thing was with the Friday option to have a little bit more open time, we were allowed to have some live Q&As happening. So for example, that first one in the upper left-hand corner is a Maine East alum, Alyssa Kawalai, who was able to connect with me, and we had a live Q&A with a few students from all three different schools. So it was really great to be able to connect with business partners that were maybe national level, right? Alyssa is based on the East Coast, and it was also really provided flexibility for all of our business partners to really talk with us when they had availability. It was a live Q&A session, and then we recorded them for any student who was unable to attend, and we were able to put those on YouTube in an unlisted link that we could share with students as a little archive.
And now people will be able to access that in the future as well because of that archive for future years.
Exactly. And we were able to also expand our reach a little bit. So we hit the West Coast where we were able to speak with Amazon, and we hit the East Coast with Alyssa, and we were able to speak to her about her time being an intern at NASA.
And Kayla?
Yes, so we also participated with guest speakers on our own and recorded those. And then we hosted them within classrooms as well. And I did want to echo that the access to students and having the virtual e-learning schedule with Fridays as office hours did allow us to have multi-class events. So we did have the architects speak to 5 sections of AP Human Geography at once. And that is a screenshot of their Zoom call where they were talking about human behavior and architecture and design and how that impacts that career. So the engagement from students on those days, even when it is tied with a class, the teacher did request it on Fridays, and the engagement was a success. So we have seen that the access on Fridays has been a plus for us.
Great. So another thing we did, and there's after each of these we'll introduce, I'll show a number of how many students were engaged. So another thing we do is have mentors for specific classes or our own events. And Kayla?
So this typical event on the right here is from Fearless Girls. So that is one of our events that started at South and then emerged to all 3 schools, assisting with females in different careers, learning their empowerment and their glass ceiling structures to create goals for themselves and then break those goals as women in industries that are not typically represented. And then other conversations such as diversity and culture and ethnicity and race also are brought up at that event as well. So that is a huge mentor event, but there's also a ton of different small mentor events, even just us connecting a student one-on-one with someone that we know personally in the community. It doesn't have to be a big event to have a mentor specifically. And then I believe Kylie had some entrepreneurship examples as well.
Yes, so we partner with the VEI and entrepreneurship teachers at each school to provide mentors for the business plan for VEI, as well as the entrepreneurship and their projects throughout the year. Each year, they typically also do a pitch day where we have real industry professionals come in, the students pitch to them, and they give them some real-time feedback, which is really critical for the students.
We also provide opportunities for our students to have professionals be their clients inside of their classes, and there's some example of their work. And we had 63 students, and the 8 represents how many entities that were our clients. Our third question that we answer is taking our students out of the building. Our first example of that is a career focused field trip we call Career Treks. And we partner with Junior Achievement on this, as well as planning our own. So I thought I'd also, there's that one. And then we also connect students to professionals in the community to get more in-depth one-on-one exposure, as well as our popular off-campus experience, which is internship, which gives the opportunity for students to experience what they learn in class, the world of work, and perhaps even a reality check. And something new we do this year is called Kickstart Your Success, which is a program where we provide training. We're partnering currently with the Technology Manufacturing Association, and students are transported to the training center in Schaumburg, and they receive training on manufacturing equipment to sit for 2 certifications, which are national. And then that can lead into a paid internship and then an apprenticeship. Currently, because they're not able to be at the training center in person, TMA partnered with Tool U, which is a module-based e-learning platform that Fortune 100 companies use for manufacturing training. And then once they're done with that, within the next 2 weeks, they're going to be hopefully going back to TMA just to get the last bit of hands-on training. We also host 3 major job fairs and hiring events throughout the year. This year, however, we did that all virtually. We had a virtual job fair. Usually we have about 30 to 35 employees employers at a time at each of the schools. This year we had an ongoing online job fair for students to participate in. And then to help support them, we had 15 different workshops that each of the career coordinators put on regarding work readiness. And if you're interested in those, in the bottom left are live links to what the virtual job fair looked like and to all the virtual readiness, the work readiness sessions we had that have been recorded so that students can access them at any time. And Laura, if you wanted to talk about the hiring event, or Kayla, the challenges of hosting a virtual one for our employers.
Yeah, so it was our first virtual hiring event, which was fantastic. I think we're going to even be doing more of these post e-learning when we are back in the real world. This is something that's on a daily basis happening and gives students, not even in COVID-19 times, but before that. So it gives students a great experience of video interviewing. We had 3 virtual hiring events for this time in e-learning with the Des Plaines Park District, Park Ridge Park District, and Manassas. So those were fantastic events for us to really get students on their own without, necessarily being in person, having a virtual interview, and then making sure they're coached prior to that, whether it be our workshops that we did or our specific one-on-one conversations to employment, match them with something that would fit their needs in a job.
Right. And during this virtual time, weekly, we sent out a newsletter or a flyer to help students learn what the Integrated Career Services team was doing. So that's example of these. And then we sent out a special edition summer one that on the bottom right, you can access through our webpage. And those are a bunch of different workshops. In addition to what we plan to do on and off campus, we also promote things our community is doing locally as well as nationally. And in particular, if you look at the image on the lower left, if you remember the board members who were on that in the airport with me in Texas, I was busy on the phone trying to figure out how to dispose of cow organs. Laura Wilkins can explain that a little bit.
So Body Insight is an organization that we have been working with and have developed a really good relationship with. Last year, we were able to get them to bring their program on site at Maine South. And it was open to all of district students. And actually we opened it at the end to out of districts for one session. And then this year for 2020, when we were planning to do it live, we were going to do it for 2 sessions so that we had access for more students. And it has obviously become virtual. And so we are still working with Body Insight. The students are not getting to dissect cow organs. They were dissecting cow organs one day. And they work with mentors. All of leaders are medical students, and then they bring in professionals. And so they have been able to, I hope I didn't freeze there, it just said I was unstable. They have been able to mentor the students and maintain those relationships, which has been great. And the first Body Insight started, and it's now in a virtual format. But so we advertise, promote a lot of community events, which now that they've gone virtual, our students have had access to things in California and national workshops with Mark Cuban and other members of the Shark Tank team. So it's been really exciting to be able to increase the exposure of things that they can participate in.
And what we also do is help teachers. They're already offering authentic experiences, but we give them additional assistance. This is on the right, a very small piece of the spreadsheet that goes on for at least 200 lines. of help that the career coordinators have provided teachers with specific examples. And on the bottom left is another 200 lines of a spreadsheet that you can access to see all the different ways that the career coordinators have stepped into the classroom or helped support our teachers with authentic learning. And also through our community, we go out and present, and we help them learn about what we're doing, and then we pick their brain, and that's a way we recruit partners as well. And Kayla, bridging the community with our programming and getting back to the options fair for 2 and certificate programs, if you want to go over what Career Signing Day is.
Yes, so Career Signing Day was implemented last year, and it was held virtually this year. A little bit different, obviously. It's an event that celebrates the students entering trades apprenticeships or ones that are going into a certification program after high school. We really want to develop the culture that it is okay to not go to college as long as you are on a path leading to you to a great return on investment in your career. So that is something we wanted to put together to celebrate those students, to honor them, and to specifically say congratulations and welcome to the workforce that you're going into. At that event, we do host the partner, apprenticeship partner, employer, community college that has the certification program, whatever it may be, there to honor that student with them. And this has gained great media access thanks to our communications team. And so local companies are starting to notice and have also reached out and developed scholarships for our students going into manufacturing and trades. One company, Sifron, has worked with us this year to develop that based on what they had heard from last year's ceremony. So not only is it just a great thing for the students, but it's also developed our community relations, community partners, and people that will be working with us in the future.
And this is the graph that Dr. Wallace was speaking of our current status with the number of career experiences that we've provided and the number of partners we have. And the solid line is our actual number, and the dotted line are what our goals were. Any questions?
No, great work. Fantastic work. Look at that comparison of the goals and what you've achieved, especially and to utilize this e-learning and remote learning time to augment and supplement and make it even better is super impressive. So thank you for that very succinct, great overview.
I just want to add, if I could, it's Carla here. I am just amazed every year at the breadth and the depth of what you're doing. It's so impressive. I'm not getting, I still am excited about it, and I feel like I've seen it grow from such a small thing, and you guys are just doing an awesome job.
It's Aurora, and I do want to add too, it's a great partnership with the community. And it's really, it's really great that businesses are opening up and really giving opportunities to the kids. So kudos to all of you.
Also, this is Jean Lee. Dr. Cook, just want to applaud you that you are doing a fantastic job along with your members, Ms. Laura, Kylie, and Kayla. A great job. Just quick question. It's very impressive that you were able to increase the business partner numbers to 656, 11.75%. So what method or what system, what way that you guys doing this outreach to bring these businesses to bring them into being a partnership? What are the success ways that you've been doing to accomplish such a high number?
It's a big mix between going out in the community at different events, networking events hosted by chambers is one, going to different organizations individually to present, as well as going to alumni, as well as going to people. For example, Kylie has gone to a number of people that she has worked with in the past, and as Kayla and Laura have just people that they know in the community, as well as parents. So it's an effort in every direction. We really try to do very little cold calling, although sometimes it requires that, but somebody always knows someone that we can count on.
Okay. Also, doing a hiring events, job fairs, and so on. Again, you guys are not much having a hard time recruiting those businesses to able to participate as well?
Not only do we not have to really recruit, but they're coming to us now because word has gotten out over the years. We've been doing this for 5 years. And sometimes students email us and ask us if their parents' business or a business that they work at can come to the school, because we host all of these on campus. We do all the marketing for them. We send out forms for students to fill out to schedule themselves, and then we monitor the interviews themselves. So we provide everything for the company. So why wouldn't they want to come on campus?
Well, great to know, especially that you're doing a community outreach that I see you will be able to recruit or find those businesses to able to participate. I think that's a fantastic way too. And also through doing many good wells through media exposure so that many businesses, as someone was mentioning, they find out about the program, the career pathway programs, and then they will be able to join or as a partner. So I think that's a great way to increase the number of great business partnership as well.
I'm grateful for my staff who are very social media savvy.
Nice to know that.
Awesome.
Financial budgets, are you guys all good? Okay with your financial budget for your department's budget?
They're good. They're good. We made an investment as we began this journey. You know, I think Carla's probably been on the board since the beginning of this. Paula not long after, but when we started, it was Dr. Cook, and so that chart, you know, that's climbing a big mountain, and we are not done climbing to the top of that mountain. So it was Laura for a long time when we really started. To be quite honest, the journey that we started on was so new and so foreign, there wasn't really a roadmap for it. And a lot of this is a tribute to Dr. Cook and just how good and prepared she was for this job, but we very quickly outgrew her. So we made an investment working with the Board of Education. Actually, Jen, you would have been there when we started this. You know, we made that investment because this has become so mission critical. Tonight, we started a conversation to talk about equity. The truth is, all of the work that we do in equity, none of it is as important as changing someone's life by changing the trajectory of their life, leading to a job that pays a livable wage, because you don't just change their life, you change the life of their children and their children's children. It really is that significant in a way that we look at it. So this has become a mission critical piece of our work. We don't do some things that we used to do, but this is as important a work that we ever are going to do. And to have 4 people on this team that we have joining with the other people in the buildings, we're getting tremendous value add for these positions.
Well, again, I echo you with that. And then again, congratulate to Dr. Cook and then other members as well. This program is a definitely great way for the students to build that career and bring that opportunity in hands-on experience in fall advance before they go to college and after. So again, fantastic job. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we really appreciate these updates and how you succinctly present them. So thank you so much. We look forward to hearing about your future continued successes, especially.
Thank you all very much, guys.
So Ken, you already did your update, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just say, you know, some of the things that you saw there as Laura kind of breezed through those slides, you're seeing things that literally were invented here by this team. I mean, it's just that signature work. It really is that powerful and just that good. So very, very proud of all of them.
I agree. Absolutely. Do we have updates from other board members on new items?
Paula, and maybe Ken is going to mention this, but I just saw on my paper, the Park Ridge Journal and topics, Mike Pressler as the regional, let me pull it up if I can. The regional
North Cook
207 Pressler as region's top principal. So congratulations on the May 27 issue, Mike.
Very much. I was some good and trusted colleagues and friends that put a nomination in, and when I read that stuff, I'm not sure who they're writing about, but I feel very, very honored and really fortunate to get to work with the people that I get to work with every day and every week here in the district. So appreciate it. Thank you much.
Congratulations. That was a great write-up, Ken. Very nice.
Thanks for your great work.
Yes,
Thanks.
well deserved.
Yes.
Well
Absolutely.
deserved.
Are updates from other board members or anything additional?
We've got some policy or committee updates, I think.
Yeah, that's next. So we're going to have a policy update from Carla.
Yes, okay, the policy committee met on May 18th. Present were Terry Collins, Linda Coyle, and I. There were a number of other people also present. Meeting was called to order at 4 o'clock. There were no public comments. A sustainability policy draft was discussed at that meeting. I'm not going to summarize it now because we'll summarize it. It's coming tonight for a first reading in just a little bit on the agenda, so I'll wait on that. Press policy updates. Assistant Superintendent Greg Dietz noted that the IASB's press comes out with updates to their standing policies 3 times a year. Quite a few changes occurred recently, most of which are related to footnotes and administrative procedures, which we do not include in our manual. Additionally, Governor Pritzker just signed over 100 bills into law that affect education. The policy committee is going to meet in June to review all of these changes before updating our policies. There will also be discussion at the next policy committee meeting regarding whether to upgrade to Press Plus. There being no further business, the policy committee was adjourned at 4:42.
Great, thank you. And just a reminder that the policy committee is now an established permanent committee. Probably going to be meeting about 3-4 times a year, probably quarterly.
That's the plan. Mhm.
Okay, and with board member Owen as chair, of course. So thank you for that. Finance, board member Coyle.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Terrific. Okay, the Finance Committee was held on May 18th, and members present were myself, Aurora Austriaco, and Jin Lee. The meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. and there were no public comments. First thing we discussed was the photography RFP. The RFP for photography services for graduation photos, yearbook photos, and ID cards. There were 4 responses, and the consensus was that Life Touch offered the best package with the highest add-ons. As a reminder, District 207 does not pay for the contract, but receives remuneration for the services. And we're going to talk about, Mary's going to run through the contract at today's board meeting. We also discussed the April financial update. This was pushed to, the March update was pushed to April. The projected $6 million budget deficit has turned into a $5 million surplus, and this is because of the elimination of the $5 million transfer from the educational fund to the capital projects fund. In addition, a mild winter resulted in gas savings and electricity savings, as well as overtime savings. Cancellation of the spring sports this year was also a large non-expenditure item. Supply and towel budgets also went unspent because there was no school. The district's going to save $120,000 on summer student workers, as this will also not be happening, unfortunately. I think Mary's going to also go through those specifics. We discussed the Quest contract amendment. The district is looking to extend meal service delivery with Quest through the summer because the need still exists to provide regular stable meals to our underserved community members. The CARES Act, as well as the Seamless Summer Meal Program, will fund 100% of these costs. We discussed transfer of interest. A transfer of interest resolution for $500,000 you'll hear about that tonight as well. Also transfer to capital projects. A resolution will go to our meeting tonight, partially abating $27 million from the working cash fund to the capital projects fund. A resolution transferring $3 million from operations and maintenance to the capital projects will also go for approval. tonight. It is important to note that any unspent money in any fund goes to the fund balance to pay for unexpected items. Good news on the technology budget that was discussed. Mr. Mark Ordonez ran through the technology budget, and it was noted that there was no increase over the 2019-2020 budget. There is going to be a add-on for $60,000 for e-learning that was not included in last year's budget for e-learning software. Teachers were surveyed about tools that they wanted to use, and those will be implemented. Let's see, battery backup replacement project is going to be delayed due to COVID. Finally, we discussed the special education transportation contract amendments. This is really the special education busing. These companies are really essential to the special education students, and we have agreed that Subtran will be paid 80% of their daily rate, while City Care will be paid 45%. The CARES Act and ISBE are continuing to reimburse 80% of these expenses, and it's very important to keep to make sure that these busing companies remain viable so that they will be able to provide services. There was no further business discussed, and the Finance Committee was adjourned at 5:39 p.m.
Thank you. Okay, Buildings and Grounds, Board Member Collins.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Thank
Yes.
you. So the Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting was called to order at 5:39 p.m. on May 18, 2020. Members present were Aurora Austriaco, Sheila Yusuf Abramson, and myself, as well as other board members. There were no public comments. Assistant Superintendent for Business, Ms. Mary Kalu, presented the construction update. Renovation is well underway and demolition is almost finished. Mechanicals, piping, and insulation work is in process. Design round 3 and bid package 2 have begun. Mr. Martinelli from Pepper added that things are going well. The number of construction workers are increasing daily as site work begins and all permits are in from the state. Construction will be wrapped up and ready to go in August in the event we start in-person school on time. The district is following all CDC requirements with temperature scanning in buildings and on construction sites and the wearing of PPE when social distancing is not possible. Pepper is purchasing a kiosk for temperature scanning for each school, and the district will own them. That's temperature scanning for each employee to determine if they're okay to work. There are no issues with receiving materials, and there is no negative impact on projects. Board members thank the team for all the work put into this project, and the meeting was adjourned at 5:55 p.m. And I want to thank everyone on the construction team for doing a fantastic job on this. So thank you.
Terrific. And Assistant Superintendent Kalu, do you want to add a construction update?
I mean, I think if you start to drive by any of the schools, you can see construction in full swing. I'm getting excited because we're probably a week or so away from wrapping up demo and actually starting to do finish work. So we're getting piping in, electrical in, but soon we're going to start to see the paint and the end finished products start to begin. So it's kind of a nice turning point. We run into unforeseen conditions around every corner, which is almost to be expected in buildings our age. We are handling them, we are moving forward, and the entire team is working together. The buildings have spent many hours both in construction meetings and design meetings, so I appreciate all of their patience.
And the videos, the virtual tours that were put on our website that show all the schools that were supplied by our architect really are a great visual for all 3 schools of what it's going to look like eventually. So I appreciated those as well. Can we also do monthly status of finances?
Sure. In your board packet is the April financial statement. You can see in April, revenues are in line with budget. On the expenditure side, as mentioned in the committee updates, we're projecting some unspent balances for the fiscal year as a result of not only a mild winter, but in addition to the unexpected closing. So there are overtime budgets, some electrical budgets that are unspent, some salary budgets. This is one time, obviously, because as we looked for the school closure, there are things that are going to be unspent. As we look for the future, we're looking to see what budgets we may need to reallocate that because our new normal is going to change and how we're going to spend things and what we're going to do. But this year on paper, it looks like we will close it in a good position. As mentioned in the finance committee, we've chosen to hold off on the $5 million transfer from the educational fund to the capital projects fund, because if there is the greatest revenue risk we see is in the educational fund from state revenues. So we anticipate that maybe a year or two in terms of lagging, because we're getting emergency relief funds next year that will allow the state to make us whole. But as those expire, we're going to face some potential challenges from the state. So we're just kind of waiting and seeing if on that transfer, at some point we will make a transfer, but it might be from the operation and maintenance fund instead, as we look at the funds that have the most available fund balanced. I will entertain any questions that anybody has on either the construction update or the April financial statements.
Okay, instructional services. Assistant Superintendent Mesmer, who's by phone.
Yeah, so this is the report that we bring to you this time every year. This is the follow-up report. So the memo that I have for you takes a look at what we've been doing longitudinally, but specifically for the graduating class of 2019. So as we look back to last year's graduating class, we see there's been a slight increase in the overall percentage of graduates attending a 2- and 4-year institution. But in the report, you will see that it takes us back to when we began this, which is back to the class of 2004. A particular note is the increase in the graduation rate at both 4-year graduation rate and 6-year graduation rate. And what that's telling us is something you'll hear Ken say from time to time, trying to get it right for each and every one of our students. And so as those rates increase, we know that we are getting closer and closer to getting it right, so students who are majoring in the majors they feel best serve them and graduating in a reasonable time frame. So I'll entertain any questions you might have on the report.
It'll be interesting to see it in comparison to 2020, obviously, once we have those data points in the coming year.
Sean,
How it's affected that.
Sean, also from that 2-year graduation rate of 29%, do we have any other data after they maybe transfer to 4-year later on? What percentage that goes to from 2 years to 4 years? Any chance?
You got to look further back, Jen. It's a 6-year report, so it looks at students for an entire 6 years. So it keeps them, even if they go from a 2-year to a 4-year, they're part of that initial cohort. So they would get counted again if they go from a 2-year school to a 4-year and graduate, they would. The important data to look at is what Sean said, which is that slope of the graph. It has increased since the time we've kept this data. We've had about a 15% increase, just under 50% to, I think we're about 64% of students who are graduating. Now, keep in mind, that 64% is actually more like 80% of the people who enroll. So if we have 80% of our graduating class enroll and 3 out of 4 of them are graduating, which is what's happening, that's a really, really high graduation rate. So our trend is, just as Sean's point, that our students, if they go, they're graduating at a much higher rate than the national average. One other thing that the board needs to understand on this is, and it's good that we had the career team tonight fronting this, because as we send more students into technical careers that require certification, that require an apprenticeship, and maybe don't require college, our actual college enrollment may go down just a little bit, which is fine. If a person's going on to be a plumber, for example, and they're going to do an apprenticeship and they're going to land in a good job, they wouldn't have be counted to go to college necessarily. But what's important is that our students that do go to college, to Sean's point, they know why they're going, and then they have high completion rates once they get there. So the data, I'm actually really encouraged with the data. But to your question, yes, if they go on to a 4-year, they stay in the clearinghouse cohort. They're in their graduation cohort, and then you get a final call on a cohort after 6 years. So that's why our most recent cohorts are like 2013. We'll get 2014 soon. So we look at the whole 6-year range of that.
Thank you. Well noted.
It'd be nice to track that vocational data with the graduation data, like have it concurrently presented to us in some form to show that if it does decrease because of the reasons you've articulated, to have that side by side, if that's possible. We can talk about that offline, but are there any, let's see, any FOIA requests? Ken?
0 this month.
Okay. And then we have a first reading on a new sustainability policy. Carla?
Okay, yes, as I mentioned during the policy committee report, the policy committee is bringing forward for the consideration of the full board a proposed sustainable environmental school operations policy. It is in draft form right now, so obviously you have an opportunity to comment on it before we bring it for a second reading. I just want to give you a little history of this. The idea for this policy originated several months ago in the ad hoc policy committee. There was a discussion there to have some kind of sustainability policy. That was followed by research on what kinds of policies there were throughout the country. Actually, we kind of looked all over. It turns out that there are policies in many places. Some of them are incredibly layered and sophisticated and involve municipalities and multi-layers of committees, and it really very elaborate. We were not looking at that kind of arrangement because the whole community isn't doing that at this time. So we ended up settling on a simpler policy that still provides some teeth to get the district to think about sustainable issues, but has some flexibility. So this approach that we took establishes that the district is committed to environmentally sustainable practices to reduce the impact on the environment and to protect the health of students, staff, and the community. The policy, I think the real heart of the policy is that it establishes a green team, which is the superintendent will designate a green team or green teams. It could be one at each school or it could be district-wide. That's flexible. The green team would be made up of students, staff, community members, and others. There's flexibility in the composition too, although students are definitely a part of it. It could also include people from some other organizations, like some of you may be familiar with Go Green Park Ridge, who have a lot of information and resources and best practices that could be very helpful rather than just have students coming up with good ways to do things. They can rely on some of these other organizations for support. The green team's job is to assess, recommend, develop, and implement sustainable projects or initiatives. However, the superintendent really has to approve any proposals and can take a number of factors into account when considering whether to do that, including the initial or long-term costs or the cost savings as well. The committee felt that it was important, to have two things here. One was student involvement, because they need to be invested in order for the policy really to be fleshed out and have successful initiatives. And the other thing that was important was not tying the hands of the district to do things that were not perhaps budgeted for, or would be way too much for us to take on, maybe all at once. So there's a lot of flexibility that we wanted to provide while still committing the district to, paying attention to these issues. We wanted there to be flexibility. So the policy itself does not commit the district to any particular initiatives. We're really going to be looking to the green teams to bring them forward, because they're the ones who are going to really work on them and implement them with the approval of the superintendent. So that is it in a nutshell. That's the hope, that we will be able to move forward on this. We're excited about it. And we think it's time for our innovative district to take on something like this. If there's any questions or anything, feel free to, you can ask them here, or, contact the committee. It's Linda, Terry, and I are on the policy committee, so any one of us. Okay. That's it.
Thank you for your leadership on that. Do I have a motion on the consent agenda number 7A through I?
So moved.
Second.
Take the vote.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Aye. Collins, Lee,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Owen. Aye, but are the minutes in here? They are. Okay, so just with the policy committee meeting minutes as amended. Aye.
The portion of the minutes with the policy committee update, or the policy committee?
Minutes. The policy committee minutes.
Those are not a part of this, though. This is just
They're
the.
not.
minutes
That's fine. That's what I was asking. That's what I was.
Yeah, no, they're
Okay.
not.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, so aye on that one,
Yeah.
and then Bessler.
Aye. Okay, we're got number 8, the approval of bids and awarding of contracts, similar to before, but with a shorter list this time. We're going to go through them individually. Do I have a motion on 8A1, special education contract amendments? Care.
So moved.
Second.
Mary, do you?
Yeah, similar to the
Spoke.
amendment that you've done before. We had initially done this through the first stay-at-home order, and this additional amendment takes it through the rest of the school year. The special ed transportation contracts, the state strongly encouraged us to work with the providers to continue to pay them something, because these funds are 80%, and perhaps 80% prorated, reimbursable from the state of Illinois.
Questions? Jenny?
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. All right, motion on 8A2, Septran, the special education bus contract.
This is very similar to the City Care one. It is for busing and special education. All the information that I said on the reimbursements and the state encouragement apply to this contract as well.
Did we have a second? Carla moved.
Second.
Okay.
Second.
Aurora seconded.
Okay. Ready?
Questions? All right, take the vote.
Coyle,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye. Aye.
I think Jenny froze.
I think she did too.
Let me, hang on a second.
Owen,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Do I have a motion on 8B Quest, the food service management amendment?
I make
So
the
moved.
motion. So move.
Second,
You get that, Jenny? There was a
Did,
couple-
yes.
Okay. All right. Do you want to say anything about that, Mary?
Yeah, we are recommending continuing to do our twice a week food distribution throughout the summer. The Seamless Summer School program is continuing, and between that program and some Title I stimulus additional funding, we believe that 100% of this expenditure will be covered with those revenues.
Any questions, comments? Jenny?
Austriaco,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Collins,
aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. All right, do I have a motion on 8C on Life Touch, the photography services for all 3 schools?
So he moved.
Second?
Second.
Every few years, the district does a request for a proposal for photography services. This covers undergraduate photography packages, senior pictures, adds some support for the yearbook, adds the ID systems. 4 responses were received. They were shared with each individual building, the yearbook sponsors, and were analyzed. Life Touch is a change in the vendor. We had previously been with HR Imaging using Root Studio. We believe that Life Touch, through a combination of the products that they offer, the individual incentives and rebates that they provide the schools, which we put towards the yearbook, and this is part of what allows us to offset the cost of the yearbooks at Maine East, which has a lower participation rate, and then the products that they will offer as an incentive represented the best package to meet the needs of the school district.
Questions? Okay.
Coyle,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Do I have a motion on 8D regarding Ally Hearn and her contract to continue working with trainers in the social emotional learning and behavioral space?
So moved.
Second.
And so this contract is a new contract as Ms. Hearn has become an independent contractor. Last year, we had contracted with her through the Midwest PBIS Center to help us engage in social emotional learning and behavioral support. So things as, for example, restorative practices among our teachers and particularly in our dean's offices, but also on a broader scale of helping our teachers become equipped to handle some of those social and emotional issues that they may run into in the classrooms as a way to build community and also help students process through things like classroom conflicts, but also stress management and things of that nature. We'd like to continue that work throughout next year with Ms. Hearn.
Sean, she spoke at the first day of school, correct? She was the one who presented.
She did.
She was just
Yes, she did.
outstanding. I think Terry was there with me as well. And for those of you and Ken, she just really, what an asset to our District 207 community.
So
And this is Sheila.
Outstanding.
Sorry, I just wanted to add too that I'm particularly interested in restorative practices overall. So I had asked to participate in the training they had at Maine East. So she really is great presenter. All the material was meaningful. Like it was presented so well. She really is amazing.
Yes.
And both this contract and the next contract that we're asking for approval of, Corey Wallace, these are our essential really guides and mentors for the work that we're doing, the deeper work, actually the deepest work we've done in equity in really trying to address particularly racial equity in a way that, frankly, I think goes much deeper than anything we've done. So Allie and Corey really are central to our work. And, you know, it's fitting actually that these contracts are in front of us tonight on a night that, you know, we've shaped a statement for the public, and it couldn't be more contextually relevant than this week, frankly. So, you know, we are not perfect. We have a long way to go. And I will say this, related to this, the restructure that we did this past year of our building teams, I'm so proud to report to the board that we have easily the most diverse hiring class of new leaders in this district this year that we've ever had. That's one of the ways that you begin to set the foundation in the future, is by seating your leadership team with folks who are going to be in decision-making positions in the future to hire candidates that more closely reflect our students. So it's a culmination of a lot of things, but just incredibly proud and hopeful, and certainly proud of this board who has supported this work.
Ken, Sean, quick question on this one. I know they're training trainers, and when we approved this, this was before COVID-19, before the economic fallout, and with what's going on right now with, you know, the racism and all that. I mean, do we have enough bandwidth and capacity after the training is completed to really deal with and provide assistance to, you know, to the students that we have, to the teachers that we have?
Actually, it's probably more important now than ever. And in fact, one of the, we've had so many conversations that they tend to run together, but one of the very, very first things that we started talking to staff about was the need to continue all of the tiered system of support programs that we had in place. So we knew that going into the pandemic, we knew some students that we'd already identified that were in various stages of crisis within the homes and with other factors. So we really reached out to them with staff. We will continue to do that. And if you just pay attention to the national data, the hotline on the call centers, they did 10x, 20x increases. So I think, while yes, it won't be as nimble maybe as it would have been if we could guarantee we'd be face-to-face this year, I think the need for it probably, if anything, goes up. I think, and Sean can speak to this, but I think a fair amount of both of these contracts are also, you know, use it. So if, for example, these are up to so many hours, but if we can't use the hours, I don't think we're contractually obligated. But Sean, I'll let you speak to that question. I believe I'm right about that, but Sean can speak to it better than I.
Yes, that's correct. And we actually have been able to get on calls with them. We've done so far we did one with just administrators with Allie. And then she worked with Jill Geocaris to offer a segment over the summer, which we actually then had to add a second segment. We had so much staff interest in sort of not only how do we care for kids during this time, particularly going through trauma, but also the element of self-care for our staff to help them take care of themselves so that they can take care of the kids. So we've actually been in pretty good shape that way. And I'll just preface this because it's part of the next contract. Even our conversations this afternoon with Corey related to the equity piece, we're putting together an opportunity for the leaders of our SOAR teams, that's SAR teams, which are the student-based organizations for equity, to try and get them together on a call this week to talk about how they may want to try and engage students over the current issues that we're dealing with in the country. So it's been a challenge, but it's interesting. People are becoming a little bit more used to the new normal of not being face-to-face, but still trying to have really meaningful conversations.
Any other questions? So now we're going to be voting on Allie Hearn 8D, point of order 8D, Allie Hearn's contract, and then we will next vote on Corey Wallace for the equity contract. But right now it's Allie Hearn. You can go ahead.
Coyle?
Yes, aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Okay, do I have a motion now on 8E, the contract renewal for Corey Wallace on the equity initiatives?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Second. And then Sean, did you want to say anything more? I think you've,
This is just a continuation
know-
of the contract we had this year. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago now, I believe that you received her white paper on a Friday note that outlined the work that she did this year.
excellent. Ken, did you want to add anything more?
Same thing. I mean, I think Corey and Ally really complement each other. They do different things, but if you combine those two things, they really do complement each other. Corey is much more about really, particularly those of us in the majority, confronting things that perhaps we take for granted and don't see in ourselves. And it's been really cathartic work. I will tell you that if I always judge, how effective things are by how organically people come to it. And Corey's work, we have had like 2 wait lists of teachers wanting to sign up for this work. So that tells me that the time is right, that there's a real, momentum for this work. And I think that for that reason alone, we should really take advantage of it. I think it's a cool thing when your staff really reflects the need to make these important moves.
And the timing is absolutely
Yeah.
time.
I just
Carla.
wanted to say I read the white paper and I thought it was really informative and enlightening. And I really liked all the comments that the participants had, that were included there, because it really gave you a feel for the learning process and how they were enlightened. So I appreciate getting that white paper. Thank you.
Yeah.
Also, can the students also will be beneficial to the trainers as well?
Yes. We have students on our equity teams and students in leadership positions. And from really a macro level, Jen, all of this work is really about how we care for and attend to and respect and understand our students. So it really is a very student focused piece of that. But to your point, Jen, it's a good point, getting the students involved from a leadership standpoint, which I know is something you're very always concerned about and champion for. So I know that's a big piece of this as well.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, otherwise we can take the vote on 8E.
Lee,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Do I have a motion on 8F, Renaissance Learning, Star Math and Reading, this 1-year subscription?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Mark, I think you're on. Did you want to say anything about this?
Yeah, good evening. I just wanted to say that this Renaissance learning assessments are computer-based assessments that we've been using for the last several years to track student progress in math and reading. And this is just an annual renewal of that product.
And was there a price differential?
There was a 3% increase in the price from last year. And that's a normal software licensing increase for the annual licensing costs.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Jenny?
Coyle,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Do I have a motion on 8G Mastery Manager, another 1-year subscription?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Carla, Aurora. Sean, did you want to say anything about this?
Yes. So this is just, this actually renews each year. It's $26,415, which is no increase over last year. This system is where a lot of our teachers use this as teams, and so they will load tests into Mastery Manager, and it enables them to run data, compare students and team results, so they can identify areas for intervention. So this is a routine yearly subscription update.
Questions? Jenny?
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Do I have a motion on 8H on Infinite Campus, our student information system?
So moved.
Second.
This is the student information system that we purchased last year or implemented last year. We had a slight increase in cost based on the reported student count with the state. So it was a tiny little bit of an increase. We've also budgeted for some training hours with CIC, the company that sells us the software to do consulting and other training with our staff. The total cost of the system and the training hours is $111,000 or $111,228.
Thank you, Mark. Any questions for Mark on this? Okay, Jenny?
Collins,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. I have a motion on number 9, new course proposals for 2020, 2021 with a waiver of the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Sean?
So this course is a Java data structures course. It's a concurrent enrollment course with Oakton. What that means is that the students actually access an Oakton professor for this course, although they will take that course during the day with us here in Maine Township. This is a 200 level course, and this represents our continued partnership with Oakton as we try and meet the needs of unique students who are just operating at the very highest levels of our computer science curriculum. So this won't be a course that many students take because not many students get this far along, but it does definitely satisfy a need and helps to earn 3 credit hours at Oakton as well.
Any questions? Okay, take the vote.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Do I have a motion on number 10 on the timeline for the 2020, 2021 budget approval for both District 207 and NSERV?
So moved.
Second.
Mary, do you want to address this?
Sure, the timeline lays out our timeline for the budget adoption, which puts it on public display in July. The NSERV budget is adopted in August because it must be filed with the state by the end of August. The District 207 budget has a public hearing in August and then is adopted in September by the Board of Education to be filed at the end of September. This timeframe allows for community input into the budget after they've had a chance to see it at various places on public display. We also put it online, which probably will be more important this year than ever before, so that if the community wishes to review the tentative budget, it has time to do that and then provide comments to the board.
Any questions on that? Comments? Jenny?
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Austriaco, Austriaco,
You're muted.
Sorry.
Bessler.
Aye.
Okay, Bessler.
Aye. Do I have a motion on number 11 for the IGA agreement with North Cook?
So moved.
Second,
Ken? There, Ken?
Yeah, I
Nice
just want to
picture.
remind teachers that when I began here, we bought 50 seats annually at North Cook. This represents, I think, 3 seats maybe. It doesn't say in the, I can't remember. It's only about 3 seats, Jenny. It should say in here, but in any event, we used to buy 50 seats up front and we used all 50 and then some. So the fact that we are only buying 2 or 3 seats at North Cook gives you a sense of, I think, how much better we're serving our students in our buildings and not sending them to this academy anymore. So that's some perspective. And we just paid for them, no questions asked, and frankly handed them out to the deans who just, you know, kids go and whenever, often for years at a time. So this is, I think, reflects our actual trends, and it reflects much, much better practice and care and concern, and frankly, restorative practices for our students than what we previously had.
Any questions or comments?
I just want to ask one question. So students that are sent, do we ever get any information on outcomes
Yes.
for them?
So-
And sorry, go ahead.
So the first thing, Sheila, is that there's an onboarding assessment. So they do a profile assessment of the students coming on, and our staff continues to work with students because they have a counselor that is still attached to them. The other thing that we do now that candidly we didn't used to do is we are always shaping a reintegration plan. So students see, okay, what's my path back? And we really work that plan to make sure, first of all, that we're not sending nearly as many students there. Often these students are ones that frankly would be eligible for expulsion. And we do, this is the destination for the expulsion abeyances that we do. So while many districts in America, if a student, for example, was in a possession of a drug, they might just expel them and they're on their own. This program has a therapeutic element to it. So students would go there, receive services. We could enforce our rules and yet, you know, keep students educated, and then if they meet the conditions, would be able to reintegrate them. And this happens all the time where students are actually coming back into the building.
Thank you.
Sheila. Any other questions or comments about it? Okay, Jenny, take that vote.
Coyle,
Aye.
Owen,
aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Collins,
Aye.
Lee,
I,
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Do I have a motion on number 12, waiver of the facility rental fee for McCaff?
so we move.
Second.
Mike, I think we all know the great work that McCaff does. It's going to be at Maine East. Mike, do you want to comment on anything because it's at Maine East now, or
I can speak to this.
Ken?
Many years ago when McCaff began, and it actually began even before the 15 years that I've been here, not long before, but a few years before, McCaff received a really large federal grant that allowed it to have staff, that allowed it to have its own office staff. And a number of years ago, we lost that grant, and the ability to keep McCaff viable really required the district to step up and help maintain it over the years. So that's how we ever began to have space for the office for McCaff in the first place. This is a continuation of what we've done for a number of years, and the move to East is simply a function of the building structures are going to end up such that it not only East, but some of our other tenants are going over to East as well, who are currently renting over at South. So it's more of a strategic move in terms of the square footage of the building projects.
And where in Maine East will be located again? I knew this at one point, I think, but
Going to be, when you come in the main entrance under the tower in that foyer, over on the right-hand side, we've already trimmed it up and cut the opening. So there's a transaction window there where you'll have identification, be buzzed in through that side door that you may not have noticed when you walked in. It's kind of over to the side. Will, of course, all be redone secured. Then there's an entry in there, so it gets security office, and there's going to be a very large suite in what was originally the nurse's office. It has been completely gutted, and they're starting to build that back again right now as we speak.
great.
I
Well,
just
want to commend board member Collins for running McCaff. And the reason McCaff has continued to do so well is pretty much her single-handed efforts to keep it going. And we're just honored to work with you and the great work that you do. And I just want to take the moment to acknowledge that. Did you want to say anything about McCaff at this point? Yeah, let's clap. I'm with Aurora.
I just want to thank District 207 for allowing us to come back in, because we really wouldn't be able to function without the space support. I mean, we used to have a business office on River Road, which, you know, ran us $20,000 a year, and it was okay with a huge grant. But I just want to say the reason that we lost the grant was because we went through the 10 years and the federal government said, after that, you should be sustainable. So it's no fault of our own that we didn't reapply or anything. It's just that it came to an end. So anyway, I just want to thank 207, and I feel like McCaff is making a difference with our volunteers too.
Also, I just want to make a quick comment. McCaff is doing a very impressive job, especially educational workshops and seminars that she's been conducting. It's been well educational to all the students. And I had a private personal opportunity to invite Terry to our Asian American Young Leadership Conference, educational conference, and the students were so very pleased to learn about all the that drug educational workshops. So they were very impressive. So again, thank you so very much.
And just one final comment, Terry, is you've always also adapted to what's been needed for the students in the community, like vaping, or working with departments on alternative sentencing or opportunities for someone who's had a violation. So not only have you been sustained it, but you've been very innovative and very in tune with what's needed in the community and for our students. And so we thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Can I just add one more thing? I agree.
Absolutely. Everyone can say something. I mean,
I agree with
it's good
everything.
work.
I agree with everything that's been said. And I think it's also notable that really the support that District 207 has given has just been use of space, which I know is very valuable, but everything else has been done through her own fundraising, which is, you know, very impressive as well. So.
And I'm going to do as well, as Paula had said, thank you, Terry, for what you do. And I have to say, you being on, you know, sharing the board with you, I've learned so much more about the organization, and obviously we're always here to support you. So thank you.
Yeah. Cheers to you, Terry. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Terry.
And I think you said too that it's great that when you're in a school, because you have students who come in, that proximity to the students is helpful too. Is that correct, Terry?
Yes, and I think one of the things that is phenomenal is we've been able to have participation with students at all three schools.
Yeah.
I mean, even though our presence hasn't been in the school, being in a school facilitates kind of parents to have confidence that we're okay.
Right.
You know, as opposed to going to some business office somewhere, being in the school, parents say, oh, okay, that you know, they have more trust. And I feel like we've touched a lot of students' lives who may have fallen off track. And I have a lot of stories about that. And I think that makes me feel good, you know, that that we've been able to do that.
Well, if you ever want to present to the board any findings, we'd be very open to that, like over the years. Because I haven't seen that in a while. So if you're ever, we could, I would love to. I'm sure other board members would like to as well. So thank you.
Yeah, I'd love to. Love to. Thank you.
All right. We'll talk about when. All right.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. All right. So let's take a vote on this waiver fee for McCaff, number 12.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Collins,
Abstain.
and Bessler.
Aye. All right. Do I have a motion on number 13, the technology budget for 2021?
So we move.
A second?
Second.
Okay, Mark or Sean?
So as was mentioned earlier during the Finance Committee update, the tech budget is proposed at $2,286,601. There is no increase over last year's budget, and we are including some budgets for purchasing software to assist with remote learning this year that we just haven't had the opportunity to plan for ahead of time. So we wanted to make sure that we had funds available to help our teachers with that should we have to continue e-learning in the fall.
We went over this in great detail at the finance meeting, which I believe we were all at. So.
Also, technology is so critically important to our 21st century for staffs and as students as well. So very important.
Well, and District 207 is a leader in this space. So, right?
We want to keep it that way.
That's right. All right. Jenny?
Collins,
Aye.
Coyle,
Aye.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Abramson,
Aye.
and Bessler.
Aye. Okay. All right, the next is just informational calendar items. I'm just going to point out we are going to have a regular board meeting with the holiday. We're going to be on July 13th. We don't know yet. Just plan on virtual for now. We'll let you know plenty in advance if we are meeting in person with appropriate social distancing rules. Traditionally, I just want to highlight, oftentimes we do not have a July meeting, but due to the unique circumstances of so many things that we are in the midst of right now, we are going to have a July meeting, not only with construction, academic, but everything else we have going on. Any other questions or additions to the calendar items number 14?
We traditionally have finance and buildings and grounds on the third Monday. Sorry, I'll send out a calendar of dates for the 2021 fiscal year and Friday notes to make sure that there are no conflicts.
So the third Monday would be the 20th then. Okay. So
So is it July 13 or July when? July meeting?
the regular board meeting will be July 13th, and then finance and buildings and grounds will be on July 20th.
Got
It
it.
will actually be July 15th, the Buildings and Grounds and Finance.
It's going to be on a Wednesday, 15th?
No, Monday, Mary, right? June 15th. I'm sorry, June 15th.
Yeah. They're talking about July now.
July, yeah.
Oh, we're on July.
Okay, yeah, it'd be the 20th then.
Yes.
Okay.
It just wasn't on this list, so she just added that on. I think
Okay.
for a
So
second.
our regular board meeting is the 13th?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Why did we
thanks.
choose that? I forgot. There was a reason that we discussed last time that we moved it to the 13th.
Because the 4th of July.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
what
it was, I think it was the long
Saturday,
week.
people would be back on.
Yeah, it's the fourth weekend this year. Fourth is on a Saturday, so just for people who are traveling.
Oh, because some people might be gone that following week.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other discussion on the calendar items? Are there any public comments? I don't see
No
anything.
other public comments.
Okay, no other, and we have no other informational items.
No.
So I have a motion to go into number 17 into closed session for the purpose of review of closed session minutes, appointment, employment, compensation, performance, or dismissal of specific employees, imminent or pending litigation, and collective negotiating matters.
So moved.
Second.
Linda? Okay.
Austriaco,
Aye.
Collins. Collins,
Aye, you hear me?
yes. Coyle,
Aye.
Lee,
Aye.
Owen,
Aye.
Yusuf Abramson,
Aye.
Bessler.
Aye. Okay. We'll call a session. Let us know when we can start, Ken and
Okay,
Dan.
I'm going to stop the YouTube live. Let me see here.